Hey guys, so I am doing a book review on 4 books. I would be doing 5, but I don't have one of the books, but I did read it, partially. I'm doing 3 of them are part of a series. I don't have the 4th book in this series, so automatically it's not the Hunger Games, but it is a very old series, like very old series from when I was in 5th and 6th grade. So that was a while ago. And I'm rereading all of the books because when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is boring, so I'm going to skip 150 pages. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I read the whole book, know it all. But I'll talk about the last. I'm going to talk about the 4th one, which is not in a series, and it's a very, very small book. It has, I think, 70-something pages. 62 pages, I'm sorry. It has 62 pages. Okay. And I have read this probably 50 times, and I can read it in a day. It's really, really easy. And there's a longer book on this. I just like the short version of it. It gives like just as much information, and it's the Titanic book. And this is U.S. Born Young Reader reading by Anna Claiborne and Kate James. And this is a really good book. Um, I'm gonna try and do a video where I just read like 5 to 10 pages and show you like the pictures so you guys don't have to read this and I'll like read it to you. There's this little bookmark thing in here. Um the first chapter is called The Unsinkable Ship, and I love this. They have real pictures, like this is a real picture of the Titanic when it was being built. This was one of the newspapers that they had. They have this in the Red Robin near me. This was how the ship was built, like what it was made to do. This is an actual picture from on May 31st, 1911, the Titanic entered the water for the first time. That's what this picture is. This is the Titanic entering the water. This is from inside. This is the gym that they had on the Titanic. This is from one of the rooms. This is a first class room. And what is this? This is advertised. This was the advertising they had for it. This was, first I'll tell you, White Star printed large poster with detailing of the Titanic's first voyage, first and only voyage. They did not know that at the time, though. That is this. And then this was the Captain E.J. Smith. If you've seen the movie, you hear a lot about him. He's the person with like the white beard and whatever. This is a picture of the Titanic. Tugboats towed the Titanic from Belfast onto open sea where the steamship would undergo its sea trials, where it had to like run. That's this. This is the Titanic, and that's the tugboat, and then there's a tugboat right here. And then I don't know if you guys can see all the way in the back. There's a tugboat that has to be in the back of it. So maybe it's the other way around. No, I don't know. I can't tell. This is a drawing, I believe. Yeah. It says excited passengers crowded the deck as the Titanic left port. This looks like somewhat of a real picture, but the water and the Titanic just looks fake. So I think this is a painted picture, but really, really good painted picture. This is an actual picture. It says the Titanic was too large to dock at Queenstown, so mail boats feared passengers to the ship. Many collected any mail. That's a picture of the mailboat down here, and then the Titanic. And this actually talks about one of the ropes on one of the other ships snapping and swinging towards the Titanic as if it was like pulled by a giant magnet. So this is really interesting to read. This is a picture as well from the Titanic. The Titanic continued its voyage, or it says The Titanic continued its journey across the vast Atlantic Ocean. And I think this picture is really cool because this is the actual Titanic. Like, not many people have seen the Titanic. Like, this is the Titanic right here. I think that's one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen. This is an actual picture. It says passengers brave the brisk weather on deck. That's pretty cool. And then this was the route of the Titanic. From Queenstown, and that's where if you knew where they left from second chapter is the maiden voyage on April 10th. What am I looking for? Oh, they left from Queenstown, I believe. Yeah, Queenstown. It was 1,400 miles to where they sank. It's a 2,800 mile voyage. They got halfway there and they had halfway to go before they sank. And they were 400 miles from Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, sorry. Newfoundland. That's what that picture is. Really cool. This, up on the top picture that I'm going to show you first, says, the icebergs are floating chunks of ice that have been broken off from glaciers. Most of the iceberg is underwater, hidden from view. The ice as hard rock for a ship hitting an iceberg as bad as hitting rocks. That's this top picture. That's just a back up there. And then the third chapter is iceberg. And then it says, an iceberg can be harder to spot than a calm sea because there are no splashes, the water at edge. And that's a picture of a real iceberg. Obviously not the iceberg that they hit, but it's an iceberg. And this is a drawing. It says, this illustration shows how a Titanic scraped along the side of an iceberg. Underwater, the iceberg gouged holes through the Titanic's metal hull. And that's if you can see down at the bottom, that's what it's doing. And then this is the diagram showing water in 5 of the Titanic compartments, and it said the Titanic could hold it in 3 compartments and still not sink, but it flooded in 5. So that's what this is. And then this bottom picture says this photo shows the radio operator on board of the Titanic. So that's the radio operator, and they sent out a CQD, which is Come Quick Danger alert, but it was so late in the night that most ships had shut down their radio station. It just kind of sucked. This is, sorry, I have a really bad nose itch. The Titanic's lifeboats up here. And then this is the last message ever sent from the Titanic. Which is pretty cool. This is a scene from the film Titanic. Shows the panic as people clamber into lifeboats. That's a scene from the Titanic. If you've seen the movie, you know what scene this is. It's obviously when they're sinking, but yeah, this is that's one of my favorite movies. This chapter 4 is going down. Oh, this is on the Great Banks of Newfoundland. So they're 400 miles from Newfoundland. The Titanic is only 2.5 miles down in the bottom of the ocean. So that's like showing it, over there is the Newfoundland. Here and it says the Great Banks of Newfoundland. So this is really cool. It says a survivor, John B. Thayer, sketched his impression of how the Titanic sank. Experts who have studied the disaster think some of the Thayer's details are inaccurate. Like it's saying that it went down, how it's going down, but that's his drawings of how the Titanic went down, which is really cool. I really like looking at that. And then this is most of the survivors in lifeboat were women and children, and that is a picture of the actual lifeboat survivor people type area. Yeah. And then this says these passengers had to wait 2 hours on the lifeboats before they were rescued. And I think this picture is one of the coolest pictures. I know I'm doing a long review on this book, but I will probably stop this video, upload this one, and then do the rest on the other 3 books. But this book is so good, and I really like all like the detailing that they do in this. It says this diagram shows other ships positioned on the night of the disaster and their distances from the Titanic. So the Titanic was right here. You can see all these ships around it. So the first one, which is the Virginian, which was 170 miles away from the Titanic, which is this ship over here. Then we're going to go down and we have Mount Temple, which is 50 miles away, which would have taken a while to get there. Which is right here. We're going to go down to this one, which was the Burma, which was 70 miles away, so not that far. And this is, again, that one, we're at this one now. And it was the Frankfurt, which was 140 miles away, which would have taken a little bit shorter than the Virginian. And then we're going to go up to the Carpathia, which actually did save the Titanic people, most of them, some of them, which was 58 miles away. And it took them 3 hours to get there, I believe. So you can imagine how long it would have taken the Virginian, the Frankfurt, and the other ones. We're going to go up to the Baltic, which is up in this corner. So this is the Carpathia, the Titanic, the Baltic, which was 243 miles. So they had no chance of saving the Titanic. And then we had the Californian, which was only 10 miles away from them, which could have been there in 45 minutes, I believe they said. But they had shut down the radio station thing, and they didn't get a call. So, which is very, very upsetting and makes me cry every time, that if they had waited, and they had just shut it down like 10 minutes before, so they had waited another 10 minutes, they could have saved the Titanic, but they didn't. So the Carpathia had to come to the rescue. Then this is a picture of Captain Rostron, who was another one of the captains on the boat. And then down at the bottom it says some of the icebergs in the Atlantic are much bigger than the steamship. That's just a picture of a Titanic and a steamship. So it's not the Titanic. Next one is Chapter 5, Carpathia to the Rescue, and that is a sketching of the Carpathia up there. Every page has a picture in like the background, so I think this is really cool. This photo shows one of the Titanic lifeboats reaching the safety of the Carpathia. And which is very upsetting right here, and it says at 4:10 a.m., 2 lifeboats pulled alongside of the Carpathia, and the survivors began to climb into the ship. The first aboard was the first-class passenger, 29-year-old Elizabeth Allen. She quickly described what happened. Over the next few hours, all 705 followers were survivors were taken aboard the Carpathia, and there were 2,500 people on the ship. 705 of them survived. That's very upsetting. That 1,300 people died that night of the Titanic. They were all excited to get to New York, and they died the night of the Titanic. The next page, it says, in London, the Evening News was quick to report the disaster, and that's a picture of the London streets. And then this one, it says, the sinking of the Titanic made the front page news of the New York Times on April 14th, 1912. It sank on the 13th of that night. And it says, that's the picture up here, and I will read the heading, and it says, Titanic sinks 4 hours after hitting an iceberg. 866 rescued. Okay, so not 705, 866 people were rescued by the Carpathia. Probably 1,250 people perished. Ismay, who is the designer of the ship, safe. Mr. Astor, maybe. Noted names missing, and then the Captain E.J. Smith had to stay on the ship as it sank. Every captain, if their ship goes down, they have to stay with the ship until it goes down. That's why there was so much fuss about the Italian that hit the coast of Italy. The captain fled the scene, and he got arrested. He got in so much trouble because if you were the captain, you make a commitment to that ship. You have to stay with it, going down or not. Then the next page, it says the survivors of the Carpathia shared blankets and comfort each other on deck. And that is this picture right here. It's really cool. It says passengers on the Carpathia would have seen New York City looming through the storm clouds. And what it says is, on the evening of Thursday, April 18th, the Carpathia arrived in New York. The weather was stormy and lightning flashed across the dark sky as the ship entered the dock. Thousands of people waited in the misty rain, including government representatives and hordes of journalists, but only close relatives were allowed on the pier. A respectful silence greeted the ship, following the tears of joy when the first survivors appeared. And it says, the Carpathia was heading for Queenston, and they were coming from New York, so they had to flip their route to help the Titanic survivors. So I think that was a really nice move. And I don't know if I showed you with that. It's just New York on a really gloomy day. Then it says, here experts and witnesses tried to establish why the Titanic sank, and that is this picture up in the corner right here. And then down at the bottom it says, this film scene shows passengers on the deck on the Titanic's first class prominent deck, and this is from the Titanic movie. This is Rose and Jack, because they don't have actual pictures. And then this is getting to the last couple pages. This is like how they're trying to find the Titanic and everything, which I think is really cool. And it says the Titanic film crew used a model of the ship for some of their scenes. You know they filmed that movie in a pool, right? If you guys don't know, fun fact of the day, they filmed the Titanic in a pool. Like in an actual pool. Like not like pool. In actual water. But yeah, that's like the filmmaker, whatever. And then this is really cool. It says the diagram shows sound waves detecting a whale underneath, so it can like detect how far down the Titanic is. And if you've seen the movie, they show the Jason looking at the Titanic, and they're looking at the actual Titanic or whatever. And they actually go into it. Next one, it says this diagram shows. I think my sister just texted me for dinner. Yep. Says this diagram shows how the first images of the Titanic's wreck were collected. Scientists on the research ship Corn received their images. Images from the Jason Argo were sent back to the ship. Lights and video cameras aboard the Argo scanned the sea floor. Jason went up close to take pictures. And that is the Titanic. That is a nice diagram of the Titanic down there. I think it's a very offensive one, but whatever. And then this picture on this page, it says, a submarine hovering over the wreck of the Titanic. That's an actual picture. Sorry, this is taking so long, but this one is really cool. It says this bag belonged to one of the Titanic's officers. It was retrieved from the wreck of the Titanic, and that's it down on the ocean floor, and then that's everything that was in it. This is a picture of the Titanic that was brought up to shore. It says the big piece, the section of the Titanic's hull was raised to surface in 1998, so that was the year I was born. And then it says this, and it says, some people still dream of raising the rest of the Titanic on the seabed, but the ship is so huge it was virtually impossible. For now, the famous steamship lies in the watery grave far beneath the waves at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And that is the Titanic. And then this I will go over in the video for these. I will quickly go over that because I'm going to get dinner. So, I really recommend this. I got this when I was in 6th grade. So, people from, I think, 5th until however many can read this. I really like this book. So, definitely get it. It's a good book. Bye, guys.